Hello, this is Ginny Brant with Unleash Your God-Given Healing. Today we're going to look at 3 differences between normal cells and cancer cells. You'll be amazed. There are many differences between the two, but we'll look specifically today at 3. These 3 differences were made known by Dr. Otto Warburg back in 1931, believe it or not. So who was this famous doctor and scientist? Born in Germany in 1863, Warburg was a physiologist, a medical doctor, and the sole recipient of the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1931. He was actually nominated for the Nobel Prize, believe it or not, 47 times during his career. After winning the Nobel Prize, Warburg was named the director of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Cell Physiology. It was there that he would ramp up his research in the metabolism of tumors and cellular respiration, particularly cancer cells. He was also known as a good friend of Albert Einstein. Great minds hang out together. And here's why the research of Dr. Warburg is so important. It was Warburg who educated the world on the major differences between normal cells and cancer cells. Doctors and scientists who know the differences between normal cells and cancer cells can actually better treat a patient who is fighting cancer. And if you desire to prevent cancer in the first place, you can use this information to lower your risk as well. So let's look at these 3 differences between normal cells and cancer cells. Are you ready? Number 1, cancer cells crave glucose or sugar. This was a discovery, of course, made by Dr. Warburg. He was the first to discover that cancer cells use glucose as energy. The idea that cancer cell metabolism is characterized by an enhanced uptake and utilization of glucose is a phenomenon known as the Warburg effect. Today, we know that cancer cells have more insulin receptors on them than regular cells. So, if you are taking chemotherapy and treat yourself to a milkshake afterwards, you are technically killing and feeding your cancer cells at the same time. Not a good idea. My first advice to cancer patients is to cut all added sugar and only eat healthy fats, low-carb fruits such as lemons, limes, green apples, blueberries, and other berries, and low-carb vegetables, along with clean and healthy proteins. Number 2, cancer cells can't thrive in the presence of oxygen. This was another discovery by Dr. Warburg, who was a cell biologist. This is why some cancer clinics are using hyperbaric oxygen chambers and ozone therapy to fight cancer. Deep breathing and exercise also increase the oxygenation of the body. Dr. Warburg was known to say this: all normal cells have an absolute requirement for oxygen, but cancer cells can live without oxygen. A rule without exception. And now number 3, cancer cells thrive in an acidic cell environment. Dr. Warburg himself said cancerous tissues are acidic, whereas healthy tissues are alkaline. Today we know that a plant-based diet naturally increases the alkalinity in the cell, whereas our fast food, junk food, and soft drink crazed diet only helps to acidify the cell. Added to this is the fact that sugar increases insulin levels, which promote fat accumulation and inflammation throughout the body. Cancer and inflammation, as we've learned, are closely linked. Eating a low-carb diet, getting regular exercise, including aerobic and deep breathing exercises, and eating a well-balanced, whole food, plant-based, low-carb diet all help you to prevent and beat cancer. Trust me, knowing these three differences between normal cells and cancer cells, thanks to Dr. Warburg, can make a difference in your health. Dr. Warburg's research was popular in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, but shortly after that, after he was recognized as a Nobel Prize winner, there were doctors who poo-pooed his research. The interesting thing is that today, many doctors and scientists are giving his research a second look. Yes, today his metabolic theory of cancer is gaining new interest and more interest each year. According to an article posted in the Meyer Cancer Center's website at Cornell Medical College, Warburg's discovery, later, as we've learned, named the Warburg effect, is estimated to occur in up to 80% of cancers. It is so fundamental to most cancers that a PET scan, which has emerged as an important tool in the staging and diagnosis of cancer, works simply, believe it or not, by revealing the places in the body where cells are consuming extra glucose. In many cases, the more glucose a tumor consumes, the worse a patient's prognosis. This same article on the website also says this: the Warburg revival, as they called it, has allowed researchers to develop a hypothesis for how the diets that are linked to our obesity and diabetes epidemics, specifically these sugar-heavy diets that can result in permanently elevated levels of the hormone insulin, how these diets may also be driving cells to the Warburg effect and to cancer. The insulin hypothesis can be traced to the research of Dr. Lewis Cantley, the director of the Meyer Cancer Center at the Weill Cornell Medical College. In the 1980s, Cantley discovered how insulin, which is released by the pancreas and tells cells to take up glucose, influences what happens inside a cell. Amazing. Cantley now refers to insulin and a closely related hormone, IGF-1, known as insulin-like growth factor 1, as the champion activators of metabolic proteins linked to cancer. He's beginning to see evidence, he says, that in some cases, it is really insulin itself that's getting the tumor started. One way to think about the Warburg effect, says Cantley, is as the insulin or IGF-1 signaling pathway gone awry. Its cells behaving as though insulin were telling it to take up glucose all the time and to grow. Cantley, who avoids eating sugar as much as possible, is currently studying the effects of diet on mice that have mutations that are commonly found in colorectal and other cancers. He says that the effects of a sugary diet on colorectal, breast, and other cancer models looks very impressive and rather scary. Dr. Robert Elliott, the surgeon, oncologist, and medical researcher who wrote commentary in my book, Unleash Your God-Given Healing, said this in my book: maintaining proper nutrition is extremely important while undergoing cancer treatment. Intake of carbohydrates should be restricted whenever disease is present in the body. Consuming fewer carbohydrates decreases the glycolytic metabolism of cancer cells, known as the Warburg effect, and promotes chemosensitivity. Cancer, he said, is a metabolic disease, and decreasing cancer cell metabolism is important in the fight against cancer. Many nutritionists and doctors are now saying, add excess sugar to any health problem, and it gets worse. I've certainly found this to be true as someone who has to watch her carbs like a hawk. Eating a low-carb diet, oxygenating the body, and eating more plants to alkalize our cells are 3 keys to fighting and preventing cancer, or simply preventing it from coming back. I hope you will subscribe to my YouTube channel as I continue to teach you many ways to prevent and survive cancer and to stay healthy. I hope that you will like this video, share it, and click the notification bell so you will know next time I post new information. Until then, here's to your health, and may God bless.